Gerard Butler is definitely known as one of the most famous names in the world of adrenaline-fueled movies, such as the recent Fallen film trilogy or the James Bond movies, in addition to Law-Abiding Citizen, Tomb Raider, 300, Gamer, and many more. But at the same time, he has also kept his career open to a variety of genres, from animated films like How to Train Your Dragon to tearjerkers like P.S. I Love You, without forgetting musicals like The Phantom of the Opera or horrors like Dracula 2000, and also including comedies like The Ugly Truth and nearly getting the most sought-after role of Batman. But let's see where all this talent and desire for creativity came from, and everything we know about this exceptional Scottish actor. That's right, Gerard Butler is originally from Scotland, precisely from Paisley, where he was born in 1969. In Scotland, he also spent his free time singing in the rock band Speed, and it was also the country in which Butler started his career as a lawyer. You heard that right. Although we're used to seeing him on the big screen tackling huge missions and world-threatening disasters, in reality during his younger years his career was headed in a very different direction, as he studied at law school and even worked at a law office in Edinburgh. The only reason why this career ended so soon was the high number of nights spent out in pubs, consequently often not turning up for work in the morning, to the point of being fired. Butler only stopped drinking at the age of 27, later confessing that he ended up in so much trouble that he can't even remember all of his adventures, once even waking up in a completely different place, in a bed in Paris, covered in cuts, and with no explanation about his situation. Not having completed his career as a lawyer, he decided to try his fortune in London. Without a clear plan, young Gerard took on a series of different jobs, ranging from telemarketing to waiting at tables. He only discovered the path of acting when a friend who worked as a theatre casting manager decided to have him try out the role of Coriolanus in a Shakespearean tragedy. Butler was so convincing in his role that he got the main part. This was followed soon after by a theatrical adaptation of one of the most famous films set in Scotland, Trainspotting, and then from his first film role in the multiple award winner, Mrs. Brown. Usually the situation of actors during their first roles is very calm and uneventful. But instead for poor Gerard, his first days on set were unforgettable. On his first day ever in front of the camera, he had to run into the freezing ocean, completely naked, and ended up with hypothermia. And if that hadn't been enough, he later saved a boy who was drowning in a nearby river, even being awarded a Medal of Courage. You know, just your average day at work. At that point, like many other actors, Butler moved to Los Angeles, where many doors to his international red carpet success opened for him. His second film immediately launched him into the world of action movies, as it was Tomorrow Never Dies, a chapter in the James Bond saga with Pierce Brosnan as the protagonist, followed only a few years later by Lara Croft Tomb Raider, The Cradle of Life, alongside Angelina Jolie. Regardless of the initial hardships of finding himself in a new and very competitive environment, thanks to his charisma and talent, Butler's popularity grew enormously, and after a few lesser-known films, soon came the more prominent roles. One of the films that nudged him towards other roles was Dracula 2000. This role not only attracted quite a large interest in regards to the film, but it also opened doors to other castings, in particular for the musical The Phantom of the Opera, for which Butler had no musical skills if we don't consider his teenage adventures in a rock band. But when the director showed interest in him, Butler jumped to the role, training to get it even by taking singing lessons way before the auditions. But one of his most famous roles was undoubtedly the one of the Spartan King Leonidas in 300, an action movie based on the comic of the same name and inspired by the epic Battle of the Thermopylae, in which only 300 brave Spartans threw themselves in a battle against 300,000 Persian enemies.
Madness. This is Sparta!
Thanks to the gripping story and a beautiful and impactful aesthetic, 300 is still one of the most popular films with Butler as a protagonist, and to achieve the perfect body for the role, he trained hard for 4 months before shooting began. But an actor's talent is also measured by his ability to adapt to different roles, and only a few months later he returned to the big screen with the romantic comedy P.S. I Love You, alongside Hilary Swank, and then in the comedy The Ugly Truth with Katherine Heigl. It was in this period that Butler began being cast in films which involved disasters on a worldwide scale. The first was Reign of Fire, in which underground construction works awaken huge dragons which threaten the survival of humankind. After that there was Geostorm, in which planet Earth is suffering from the disastrous effects of gigantic storms and in which his character needs to find a solution from space. And after that came Greenland, in which a comet is on a collision course with planet Earth with destructive results, and Butler's character desperately trying to get his family to a safe bunker in Greenland. Let's just say that just as Al Pacino and Robert De Niro never stray too far from a gangster movie, Butler is never too far from epic and incredibly chaotic action movies. One of the action movies in which he starred during the early 2000s was Gamer, a science fiction story which was very modern for its time, as it portrayed a future world in which social media, video games, and in general online life reached the point of involving real avatars, real people who need to act, fight in video games, or simply follow all the players' indications. So in addition to the action scenes, we also have an interesting psychological analysis and criticism of society. Two other great action films from that time were Law-Abiding Citizen and Machine Gun Preacher, which helped set Butler's face in the Hall of Fame of great action stars. And his involvement in films was so serious to the point of getting close to danger in real life. An example from the time was during the shooting of Chasing Mavericks, when a series of rogue waves dragged him in a rocky area and he had to be rescued on jet skis and quickly hospitalised. All of this before reaching the box office hit of the Fallen trilogy, which will be followed by other 3 films, always with Gerard Butler in the shoes of an expert security agent dealing with various serious issues. From attempted murders to international threats, Agent Mike Bannon is always at the centre of the action, and there are even rumours of a possible TV series on the topic. Decades after his younger years spent at pubs and getting fired, this trilogy set Butler's figure as a blockbuster poster boy, and his dedication to his roles never faded over the years, even gaining over £30 for his detective role in the crime movie Den of Thieves. But let's not forget that he's always appreciated a variety of genres, even starring in the sports comedy drama All-Star Weekend, directed by Jamie Foxx. With a stellar cast which also includes Robert Downey Jr. and Eva Longoria, Butler portrays a Russian gymnastics enthusiast in the story of 2 truck drivers who end up involved in events which are much bigger than predicted. Well, Gerard Butler always pleases everybody with a variety of engaging roles and always showing us a new and intriguing side of his personality. He even tried to get the role of Batman in Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice, a role later given to his colleague Ben Affleck. And in which role would you like to see Gerard Butler? Can you see him as a Batman or as a possible James Bond? What are your thoughts? And what is your favourite film of his? Let us know everything with a comment right below this video. And if you're a film and series lover, don't miss all our newest videos by subscribing to FilmIsNow and tapping the notification bell.